The media statement is boleh mula atau saya tunggu? Boleh ya? Janji nampak kurus. Okey, selamat petang kepada semua rakan-rakan media. Saya ingin berkongsi kenyataan media saya dalam bahasa Inggeris berhubung dengan pembentangan pindaan kepada rang undang-undang mengenai pemansuhan hukuman gantung mandatori oleh pihak kerajaan. Izinkan saya baca kenyataan media saya dalam bahasa Inggeris. October 6, 2022, a historic day in Malaysian history as the government takes a valiant step in tabling amendments to abolish the mandatory death penalty. October 6, 4 days before the World Day Against the Death Penalty, Malaysia holds her head high as a member of the UN Human Rights Council in the historic tabling of the first reading of the abolition of the mandatory death penalty, which carries 11 offences in the Malaysian criminal justice system. Malaysia has 33 offences that carry the death penalty, of which 11 are mandatory and 22 are discretionary. The tabling of the first reading means that we have one foot in the door in working to abolish the mandatory death penalty and hopefully one day of total abolition. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi, and his deputy, Datuk Wira Mas Ermiati, and the entire legal team must be given the utmost credit, merit and commendation, and the late Datuk V.K. Liu, who started the ball rolling on setting up a special committee headed by former Chief Justice Tun Richard Malanjun on alternatives to the death penalty, the courage and the political will to bring an idea to paper and for that paper to be tabled in Parliament today. The amendments will see discretion given to judges if they wish to use the death penalty or not on convicted persons, including whipping. However, the application of the amendment will be prospective and not retrospective, which leaves room for discussion and debate on death row inmates who have served over 35 years on death row. My wish list upon the tabling of the amendment to abolish the mandatory death penalty is to review the punishment using the words imprisonment for natural life to a maximum of 30 years imprisonment and lower, according to the discretion of judges, and to abolish whipping as a form of corporal punishment. I also wish to see that the moratorium is still applied in spite of the abolition of the mandatory death penalty. Let us not forget that both the death penalty and corporal punishment, like whipping, were both used and left behind by our colonial masters, that they have gotten rid of in their countries, but what we hold on dearly to today. This must change and change fast. This amendment to abolish the mandatory death penalty does in no way means that Malaysia is soft on crime. Rather, it is moving in the direction to uphold the rule of law, to defend the criminal justice system, and to prevent, the best of to our ability, a miscarriage of justice. The subject of the death penalty must be viewed with social reform as well. Today, we have over 1,300 men and women, Malaysians and foreigners who are on death row for various offences committed. With this progressive move, what will happen to them and their fate? What is crucial here is that Malaysia has broken ranks among ASEAN countries that still have the death penalty to now be amongst countries that have abolished the death penalty. Malaysia must now also fulfill its obligation to vote in support of a moratorium against the death penalty at United Nations as it had done before. Any questions? So if Parliament is dissolved, then and elections are called, depending on the government that comes into power, we can pick up from the first reading and table the second reading in Parliament, debate and pass it. Of course, there's also room for it to be referred to the select committee. If not, then amendments can be made and then third reading and it'll be passed. So all 11 offences that have mandatory death penalty will now become discretionary. But I think this is a first step for Malaysia to move towards total abolition. I mean, we also must remember that 86% of people on death row come from B40 or marginalized groups. So you see that the law is disproportionately used on people who come from vulnerable communities. When was the last time you saw Tan Sri, Datuk Sri, Tun or their children or anyone related to them being charged with something that carries the death penalty? You always find that there's something there that helps them to get a lighter punishment or sentence. So I wish to see the abolition of the death penalty, but I also wish for a more transparent judicial system as well in the country. Because if you commit a crime, you must be punished. I just don't believe in the punishment of a death penalty. Any more questions? No? Thank you.